people have been asking a long time for us to make a gluten-free beer, so we are.
We were gifted the primary ingredient of this beer from one of our viewers, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, to start off with, this is going to be a farmhouse ale style. I love making farmhouse ale style beers. It just works for me. By the way, this is a beer. It's going to taste much like a beer, but it's not actually beer. There's no barley, there's no malt. It's not going to be beer in the strictest sense, okay? But it's gluten-free beer, so it's the best we can do for gluten-free, okay? But anyway, so what I'm gonna do is I have here a half ounce
of the hops that shall not be named.
I'm gonna try it. Will am it. That's what people told me I should say. Someone can tell me that's wrong too. I'm going with it. Half ounce of that, also known as 14 grams.
It is quite interesting how many people who are from that area tell us, I swear from that area and it's pronounced this way. And they all have a different way of how it's pronounced.
We have 218,000 subscribers. I think at least 50,000 of you live in this tiny little area because that's how many people have told me I said it wrong and all claim they're from there.
So we're very much in a damned if you do, damned if you don't
I need more
scenario. And so we apologize.
So I'll just be damned. It's okay. So we started off with 1 gallon of water. I know I'm probably going to need a little bit over a gallon. Or actually, I'm going to need less than a gallon because we're going to have the stuff to go in it later. But I just put some in a pot. I'm going to put this on the stove, and I'm going to bring it up to a boil, then lower it to just keep it at a boil for about 30 minutes. This solves the boiling our entire wort for like an hour kind of thing with beer. For this, it's really not necessary.
Because hops are added to a brew in 2 ways. Either they're boiled, which is what we're doing today, or they're dry hopped.
Mm-hmm. If you dry hop, all you get is the aroma. If you boil them, you can get aroma and you can get some bittering from them, which is what we're looking for. But I don't need to cook it for an hour. I'm not really a big fan of hops. I like a little bit of bittering and I think they add to the flavor, but too much can be too much. So if you want to boil yours for an hour, go for it. I'm gonna boil these for 30 minutes. Okay, so now that our hops are hopping, it's time to get our yeast yeasting. And we are using...
Safel SO4.
Yeah, I always say USO4 and I'm wrong. It's just SO4. They have a USO5. So that's where the confusion starts. Now this happens to be a half packet. I have a ton of half packets of yeast laying around, okay? It's just a thing. Just gonna dump it into a little container here.
Back your packet.
Yeah. There's always like 2 or 3 that will not fulfill their destiny, which is probably thousands actually, but like if you see 1 grain, that's not actually 1 yeast. You know that,
that's
right?
Lots.
Yeah.
Whole little mini colony.
And I'm just gonna pour a little water in here. What we're doing is hydrating the yeast. This is kind of like a test of life. Just to make sure that there's living yeast in that packet. Give it a little swirl, get them all up the sides, mess it all up badly. Yeah.
That is the way of the brain.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? Well, they clumped. Oh, you're gonna, how much more water you gotta put in there though? It worked, but she added more water, which just means less water added later. So we're gonna set that to the side, let it do its thing.
I think it's already doing its thing.
I'm not sure. It might be. Maybe that is. Okay. So we're gonna talk next about the star of the show, the main ingredient. Give me a second to go get it. It's been sitting in a pot of hot water, getting ready for its debut, and that is
sorghum
syrup.
And we're using this because, why? It's gluten-free.
Yeah.
And we're making a gluten-free beer.
And I've seen it done where people said that it tasted a lot like beer at the end. I don't know. So I'm gonna try it out. We have exactly 1 quart of this. Everything that I've read says that this should make a pretty decent amount of, oh no, it's crystallized. Pretty decent amount for our beer. Some of it is crystallized. But I know I had it sitting in water for a while, so maybe some of it is, but we'll see. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of crystallization in the top.
Hopefully that doesn't clog our funnel.
It's gonna. It's already clogging the bottle.
It's a calamity of errors.
It always is.
Everything here is a calamity of errors.
But what I can do is when it gets to a certain point, put some hot water into the bottle and shake it up and get it all out. So it's not the end of the world. It's very, very much like honey though, from what I'm seeing. No idea what it tastes like. I don't know what it tastes like.
Probably tastes like sorghum.
Apparently. Oh, now I need to rinse my hand off. It tastes sweet, okay, which is a good thing because it should. It has kind of a malty sort of flavor to it, kind of a malty honey almost. So it seems like this should work pretty well for what we're doing. I think it's going to work if I can get it out. There's like one clump and then all the rest.
And then all that.
Yeah.
Do we need to...
I'm going to invert and add water. Maybe. Oh, look at that. Ta-da.
Beautiful.
Yeah, see, it's actually stuck in the top of it. Hopefully I can get past that. We're going to need most of this water anyway, so it's not really a problem. Okay, lid on. Really tight. Hey, there we go.
All right. Violence is the answer.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Anybody know what that's from? I know somebody out there does.
Somebody in here knows.
Somebody in here, too. I tried watching that again recently. It really, not the same. No. When I was 10, it was amazing. Today, it's... that one chunk is still up there. But we'll get it.
It's okay. We need to oxygenate anyway, right?
Oh, yeah. We got lots to do still. But it's just... I think I can't get enough agitation up into the mouth of it to make that break up. I'll get it. Don't you worry. I will get it.
I'm worried.
Really? You should know me by now. Anyway, more water. It's like a rock of sorghum sugar stuck in the top. It's much smaller now. I think I got it. I got it. All right. Makes an interesting sound. I think it's just the bottle shape.
It's like a musical instrument.
All right, here we go. Foam and all. Doesn't it sort of smell almost like dry malt extract or liquid malt extract, I should say?
A bit. Now, did
Are
make
you
those
serious?
Pieces small enough to get down the funnel?
Of course not. Why would I do that? Chopstick. When in doubt, a chopstick is your best friend. And let me just show you what I'm talking about. See all that stuff right there? That's just big chunks. It's got to get in through the funnel. So a chopstick breaks it up nicely. Good job. Violence is sometimes the answer. Ready for rinsage?
Yeah, you rinse my chopstick. That's not a euphemism.
There's still a little bit in there, but we will get that out when we put the rest of the water in. Like now, we're going to put some water in. Ooh. Rinse out that funnel a little. Is this warm water, cold water? What is it?
Just water.
It's just water. It has no temperature whatsoever. All right. Because I know that sound is picked up so nicely by the microphone. And I'm going to use a solid bung, also known as the thumb saver bung, and we're going to mix this up. While I'm mixing this up, can you explain why we're mixing this up?
I wanted to sing the Shake, Shake, Shake Sonora song.
Oh, but before we get to that, everything that we used here was sanitized in.
The red bucket of sanitization!
Which is actually just a red bucket filled with star sand and water mixed to the manufacturer's suggestion. But if you need to do the thing, go for it.
No, it's okay. So what Brian is doing right now, besides making the mixture homogeneous, or whatever the word is, so that way we can take an accurate gravity reading, he's also oxygenating the mixture, which is important because yeasts need oxygen to become big and strong and ferment all that sugar into alcohol.
Yeast need oxygen to build a colony. That's what she was trying to say.
I was just being funny.
Ugh. Interesting, the color is not changing as much as some things do. You can hear all the bits.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a sort of almost accurate reading on this one.
Crunchy.
It's a little crunchy in there, yeah. Okay, a little more water. I'm just going to pour it by hand because I can.
Complicate things.
Yes, I do. It's what I do best. I complicate things and I know things.
So the good news is when we pour in the hot liquid from our hops edition, that should hopefully melt some of those crunchies.
Yeah, the crunchies will melt over time.
If they're still in there.
I'm not worried about it. But I don't really want to add much more liquid at this stage because we do have the water from the yeast and the water from our hops to go still. So for now, I'm just going to let this sit with the stopper in there, keep some flies out just in case, and we'll be back when our hops is ready. Okay, so our hops is done hopping, and it's just sitting here. It's a little bit warm, so what I want to do is add some more water in there just to cool it down. Just thermal shock is the only thing I'm really concerned with. Okay, and now we're going to remove this.
I'm going to put in our stainless steel funnel and our
Strainer.
but there's one more layer that we're going to add. And that is some cheesecloth.
Couple layers.
Now, I have
One layer's good.
sanitized this.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just going to fold it, put it in there.
Because there's some stuff in here, you know, all the hops that we don't want, but all the flavor of it is in here. It's in there.
They're goopy, and it's a fine goop, and we want to limit the goop.
Okay, this is the dangerous part.
Yeah.
By goop, let me show you what we mean. See that right there? That is some goop, and it's probably out of focus. Hold on, let me see if I can focus it. In focus goop, there you go. There's some in focus goop. And up there, that's also in focus goop. Definitely stuff you don't want in your beer.
I'm just going to put it all in there.
And we're gonna remove it from the premises. She's just gonna put it over there.
There we go.
Okay.
Speaking of things to look at,
it's not hot yet, okay? I just want you guys to know.
Let's look at those yeasts, Bri.
Oh, hold on. I want to mix that through because there was a temperature differential at the top versus the bottom. So I don't want to, you know, yeah. All right, so looking down in there, you can clearly see that they're bubbling up and they're starting to do their thing. They're essentially building a colony and coming awake at this point. They don't really have anything to eat yet other than, well, each other because there's a lot of dead yeast in the packet. So that's what they're doing now. But anyway, we're going to pour this in. Just going to give it a little tiny bit of a swirl so I don't get too many stuck to the sides. I always do. But we can rinse this out too.
Now, if you touch your carboy and it is obviously hot,
don't put your yeast in it.
You want to take its temperature to make sure it's not too hot for your yeast.
It should be blood temperature or below, ideally. So I'm just going to pour this right in since I know that it is. And there's a little bit stuck to the sides.
It's okay, we got water.
They will not fulfill their destiny the way they are, so a little bit of water. All right, and dump that in. It also rinses out the funnel, which had some, they were trying to escape their destiny. All right, at this point is when we decide how much more water we want to put in and how badly we want to bang up our fermenters. Generally speaking, I like to just be a little past the shoulder. So I'm just going to go a little bit more. On this actual fermenter, let me see if I can find it. There's a 1 gallon mark, and it's right here. So 1 gallon is up to where my finger is. Beyond that gets more than a gallon. So we're just going to go to the 1 gallon mark right there, just like that. And wouldn't you know it, we had a quart of the sorghum, but a quart is 32 ounces. Whatever. Some of the water boiled away. Oh, that's right. Some of the water boiled away from the hops. Yeah, because there's like 20 ounces left in the water thing. So now I'm going to put the bung back in here, and I'm going to mix this up. I don't want to go too hard on the mixing at this point because it will just foam up and it'll just make a mess. But I want to make sure everything's through.
Sure everything is homogeneous. I'm using that word again. I'm using the word again. so we can get an accurate gravity reading.
Okay, I'm expecting this to be somewhere around like the 1.030 to 1.050. I heard differing ideas on how much sorghum syrup adds, but it's all good. They're all going to work. Just different amounts of alcohol at the end. Not a big deal. Looks like beer. Smells like beer. It actually does.
Yay, beer.
We're starting to appreciate beer more and more. Whoa, that's higher than expected. Whoa! What the heck? This is 1.110. This is no longer gluten-free beer. This is gluten-free barley wine. I'm okay with that. I think it'll be fine.
All right, let's rate our information.
I mean, either that or I have to dilute it and basically make 2, which...
We could.
We could do that. Do we want to make 2? It's a little high. I really would like it to be half that.
Let's make 2.
All right.
And this pairs along nicely with lots of comments that we've gotten where it's like, I accidentally added twice the honey or twice the fermentable sugar of your choice. What do? Well, you dilute it. That's pretty much all you can do.
At this point, you might be thinking, did they do that on purpose? No. But it does serve a good point of exercise. So we're going to find another fermenter. We're going to split this batch and dilute it by half. Okay, so after I shut the camera off, I went, why are we making 2? Why not just use a bucket? And it just so happens that you did what?
Ironically, when I was prepping for today's film day, I actually got this bucket out for this brew. And Brian said, we don't need 2 gallons, we're just making 1 gallon.
By the way, aeration, as we said, is a good thing. See how fancy I can get with it.
Well, watch yourself there.
I can go higher if I wanted to, but she's giving me the eye, so I'm not doing it. And according to our bucket that has numbers on the side, we are right smack at the 1 gallon mark.
Now, do we want to put some water in this just to...
Yeah, we can rinse out some of the excess sugars.
There's a little bit of sugars in there.
Okay. I'm just gonna, and I have another 128 ounces or a gallon of water.
Yeah.
Just gonna rinse this out and try to get all the stuff into the new brew. Might have to take a new reading, but I don't.
Whoa, you definitely will have to take a new reading.
Why?
Because we're diluting it.
Oh yeah. I have mentioned that I'm a natural blonde, right? That first time it came out a different color, so I figured there was still some stuff left in there. Okay, that's looking much better. All right. Anything that's in there now will just not be part of the beer.
It's all right.
And now this gets poured into the rest of the gallon.
You and your fancy splash zone.
Right to 2 gallons.
All right, you need your spattle.
So people have been complaining we don't make more than 1 gallon all the time. Well, guess what? We're making more than 1 gallon today. And it's beer, so, you know, it's what you do.
Yay, beer.
It actually smells nice, though. Like, you can smell the hops, but it doesn't smell like an IPA. That old reading, we probably could have let it ride, but I started to feel like that's no longer really a beer, and it kind of defeats the purpose of what we were looking to do. So instead, diluting it, what do you know? Cut it in half, and what happens? That number drops down to 1.05 something. 1.056, almost exactly half what it was.
So like 7% potential-ish?
Yeah, if you look at most hydrometers, they also have a potential alcohol scale. Now that uses the 131.25 coefficient that I don't generally use, but that's because we usually make things that are over 7%. But this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's just see. Yeah, you're right, about 7.5, give or take. So that's a pretty respectable beer. Let's be honest, 7.5%. Most commercial beers are like 3 to 5. And now, all we gotta do, put a lid on it and an airlock. We have to get an airlock, but this is gonna go sit in the fermentation for a couple of weeks until the bubbling stops. Then we'll be back to show you what's happening now. Okay, so it's been 2 weeks and this still bubbling a little bit, but you know what? We're gonna, when you do that, we're gonna take the lid off and have a look at it. This is not the easiest lid to take off. I will tell you that right now.
It's because because it seals so nicely.
Oh, it is an easy lid to take off because it's got a little...
You just have to know the trick.
Got a little safety thing on the side there. Looks like beer.
Look at that seal. It's a lovely seal. 1, 2, 3, go! You have to say that or it'd make a mess.
Now, something I want to show you is the inside. The reason I wanted to show you is because, what do you see? Nothing but beer.
Beer!
Just beer.
Yay, beer!
Nothing untoward. There's no eyeballs. There's no green stuff or black stuff floating in there. It just looks like beer. I joke about the eyeballs and everything, but realistically, you want to look at it and make sure that there's no mold or anything fuzzy growing on it. Give it a smell. Does it smell bad? No, this actually smells remarkably like beer.
It is very beer adjacent.
Yeah. Okay. And we're going to take its very first reading. It started at 1.056. Now, I don't know the characteristics of sorghum to know if it has any of those non-fermentable sugars like barley malt does. I'm hoping it does, because if it does, then this is going to act a lot like a beer, where there'll be a little bit of sweetness left at the end, and all is good.
Or?
Filled to the rim. Or, well, not so much. Not really a problem, but it is at 1.002.
That's pretty dry.
Yeah, that's pretty dry. But we're going to go with it anyway, because it's the way this goes.
Do you want to take a cheater sip?
I'm going to after I pour some into here.
Okay. So because we have 2 gallons, we're using a 2-gallon bucket as our racking device.
Very small cheater sip.
Location? Sure. Destination. That's the word.
Remarkably like beer.
Excellent.
It even has like a little caramel note to it. It's crisp and refreshing. I think it's going to be wonderful. Yeah. We were a little concerned because beer tends to have like a 1.008 to 1.012 or so residual. This doesn't have that, so it's dry. It just means less calories, you know. Anyway, now we're going to rack from this bucket to this bucket. You might be wondering why we're doing that. It's because there's what's called drube. When normally we call it lees, but in beer making it's called drube. And that's all the sediment that's sitting on the bottom. We don't want that in our beer, but we still have to do something else with it too. So, auto siphon it is.
There's still some
Residual.
tar sand in there.
And I'm leaving the little cap on the end so that I can get really down in there without picking up too much drube. But here we go. Halfway in, get it started.
Ta-da! It's racked.
Yeah. So.
Now, normally Brian tilts the origin vessel slightly to try to get as much of the liquid out. We did find that the lease cake on this wasn't compacted.
It was like the blob. It just started moving.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I think I'll just lay it flat.
But we filled our bucket to like...
That's 2 gallons. I mean, that's good.
We're good.
So because we're going to naturally carbonate, and by naturally carbonate, I mean we're going to add a little bit of extra sugar. We're going to add a little bit of what I call insurance yeast to each bottle. And that way it should ferment just a little bit more and add carbonation to the beer.
Oh, do you want to do the tester bottle again?
We certainly can do that.
And this is our insurance bottle. We've done it in many other videos, but I'm going to go get the equipment and Brian's going to give you a brief synopsis of what the heck we're talking about.
Okay. What she's talking about is this set of tools, which contains a plastic beer bottle, this exact cap, which has the same type of connections that you find on kegs, and you just put that on there, and this. This is the secret to the whole thing. This just snaps on using the keg connection, which I'm not even going to bother doing right now. And on the other end has a pressure gauge. This one happens to go to 60 psi. It's also the exact way that I can carbonate one bottle at a time if I wanted to with CO2. So I turn the gas off basically so that this doesn't have any effect. And what happens is as it builds up pressure from natural carbonation, the gauge shows it. And we use this so that we can make sweet brews carbonated. But in this case, we're just using it kind of to see, is it actually working at all?
The reason why I suggested doing this is lots of times we haven't waited long enough to fully carbonate naturally. And that's just simply because we didn't know what pressure we were at.
Yep.
This is going to tell us, simply by a glance, what pressure we're at to know if we waited long enough.
Now, for bottling, I'm going to be using a bottling wand on the end of our otosiphon. Bottling wand has the springy thingy on it. See? It's also called a stem valve. Basically what happens is when you put this in the bottom of the bottle, and push down, the liquid can flow. When it gets up into the neck, you pull it out, the liquid stops. Obviously, you don't do it sideways like that. You do it straight up and down, yeah. And then you don't even have like a drip between bottles, and you can fill a bunch of bottles. So I'm going to fill this one first, and then we're going to show you, no, I'm not. I'm going to fill all the bottles, and we'll be back to show you how we do this one. So right as I was about to start filling the bottles, I said, why is there still a bowl of sugar sitting over here?
Because we forgot to add it.
Distractions. It's a thing. It happens. So we have our carbonation gadget set up, but what we didn't do is prepare for actual carbonation. For that, you need some more sugar. I did mention it, but I didn't do it. And we normally like to use 42 grams of sugar, but that's for 1 gallon. This is 2 gallons, so I used 84 grams of sugar. Yeah.
So it's foaming.
Let me show you. It's foaming because of nucleation sites. That's it. Yeah, see, you can even see the ripples on the top there. Yeah. It was more impressive a minute ago, sorry.
So what that means is that this was still degassing, as you can see by the airlock activity, and when you put sugar or a small granule like that, it creates nucleation sites, which allows the gas to readily escape.
Yeah, if you ever watch the Mythbusters, Diet Coke and Mentos, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta mix this up, and to do that, I'm gonna use the spattle. It's a spoon, it's a paddle, it's both. You can get yours in the link in the description below. And yes, I named it. It's actually called the spattle on Amazon.
Yep.
So this is gonna be noisy. And all I'm looking to do is mix that sugar through, but I don't want to oxygenate. So when I stop hearing scratching, we'll do that. Okay, so only like a minute in, and I'm really not hearing any of the scratching from sugar. Now, I know people use different kinds of sugars for this. You can use corn sugar and stuff like that. We just use plain old white sugar. It's never let us down. It always works. And the reason why people like to use other stuff is they say that it ferments a little faster or a little easier, and that is possible, but also that it dissolves faster. I don't know. This dissolved pretty darn fast, so I'm not overly concerned.
We have some people ask us why not use confectioner sugar because it's a finely ground sugar. Well, the problem with confectioner sugar is lots of times things are added to it to
cornstarch.
Keep it from clumping, which you don't want in your brew.
Yeah, I really don't want to be drinking cornstarch beer, you know? Anyway, so now we're going to bottle this because now it's primed for carbonation. Back in a few once these bottles are filled. Okay, we bottled. This is why I don't like doing bigger batches. 14 bottles. Just took a while, you know? Anyway, so.
Next step is to add our insurance yeast.
Yep. Now, not everybody does this. And it does add a little extra bit of sediment in the bottom of your bottle. But it sometimes is the difference between getting carbonation and not getting carbonation.
Once we've started doing this on a regular basis, we missed it one time, and that one time showed us why we do this now, because it didn't carbonate as well.
I'm going to show you exactly how much I just put in there, okay? Can you see in that bottle, there's just a couple of grains, like maybe 30 grains. They're starting to fall now, Derek said. But that's how much I put in, just a sprinkle.
So this is our tester bottle, so we're going to put the special screw cap on that. Make sure it's nice and snug.
And then this guy.
Make sure that this is closed, which Brian already did.
Yep.
And then you push.
Push, pull, twist, jump on your head 3 times. I don't know. I can never get this to go on right. Okay. After more trouble than this should have been, we finally got it on.
Apparently you have to yell at it.
Yeah, I shut the camera off so that I could say some choice words.
Violence was the answer.
Yep,
but
it worked.
It's nice and snug now.
And we leave this one out so that we can, you know, kind of keep an eye on it. In this case, it's not all that important.
There was one time
at band camp?
At band camp where we just put this away because we're like, oh, we got plenty of time. And boop.
Well, I watched it for the first couple days, and then it was in the fermentation station. I forgot about it for like 4 or 5 days. Yeah, don't do that because it overdid it. It worked out, but
yeah. So we're just going to add a little sprinkle of our insurance yeast into each of these, seal them up. We're going to label them with our fancy masking tape labels, and then we're going to put them in our bomb shelter. What that is just a heavy-duty plastic tote that these fit in, so that way, just in case, knock on simulated wood, if something goes awry, it'll explode inside there rather than all over our kitchen.
Yep, that's the preference.
Once our gauge tells us that these have been properly carbonated, we'll be back to show you the results and give you a taste test.
Now, people always ask, how long should it take? Anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. That is the actual best answer I can give because it ranges. And I have yet to figure out exactly what the reasons behind it are. But for us, usually it's a week or two. So, as she said, we'll be back then. All right, so it's been a couple of weeks, like 2, almost 3 weeks.
We honestly don't know what day it is, who we are.
I think it's Wednesday.
Where are we? I don't know.
We had a hurricane come through and we evacuated. We're back. We're fine. House is fine. Just a mess. Everything's a mess. So normalcy not happening yet. But anyway, the gluten-free beer.
Our hearts go out to those who are not fine because we know we are
Fortunate.
fortunate. Very, very fortunate. But gluten-free beer.
Yeah. So I don't think it carbonated. And I know why. Because we used the little gadget thing when we came home. Nothing. But while we were away, the power was completely out. So it had its best opportunity to carbonate if it was going to. But let's find out right now. This is one that we chilled. Whoa! It carbonated.
It carbonated real well.
I did notice, I attached a canister to the gadget one.
Yeah.
And it seemed like there was a leak.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that just leaked.
I think it just leaked.
We're good.
Okay. Well, no, we're not. It carbonated.
Oh. All right. Pardon while we go get a towel to clean this up.
I'm really glad we're outside.
Yeah. All right. So since it carbonated, time for a pour. Looks like beer.
That's beautiful.
Actually does have a really nice color.
It's a reddish hue.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's not a pinkish hue. Don't fall off this.
Yeah, so you should be able to see there now the color. It's actually really pretty.
You top you off.
It reminds me of what's the red beer? Is that Reds? I don't know. There's I don't know if it's called amber or red. There's a reddish beer.
Amber ale, I think. Maybe.
You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. We don't.
I obviously don't.
We're not really beer people. But anyway, we even have our scorecards on clipboards.
You will hear chainsaws. That's because there was lots of trees that fell and
Yeah.
need to be cut.
You'll hear random stuff in the background for this one. What are you doing? Oh,
I'm smelling.
we got to do appearance first.
Appearance. It's pretty. I like
I
it.
think it looks nice. It cleared sufficiently. There's lots of bubbles. I'm liking it. Oh, I got to fill up my thing. Sorry for the disorganization. We are just trying to do this so that we have. This is the only part of this video that had to get done before I can edit it, and I just really need something to do right now. Oh, we have to talk about repeatability. Repeatability. This was easy.
They're over there on the.
They're right here.
Yep.
It was sorghum, hops, water, and yeast. That's it. And then we added sugar for
carbonation.
This is easy.
Yeah, and we added
This is
the
pretty basic.
insurance yeast, which obviously did the trick.
We didn't need it.
No, well, we don't know.
Well, it worked.
It worked.
See,
That's
it's one of
what
those.
insurance is there for.
Yeah,
So
it's
you have it.
Schrodinger's yeast. Anyway, so yeah, I'm on a 10 for repeatability. This is so easy. If you can make beer at all, you can make this. Appearance, yeah. Now we're on to aroma.
I keep getting bubbles in my nose.
The bubbles are big. They're like huge bubbles coming up. I'd show you B-roll, but I'm using that camera to record today. It smells like beer.
It smells like beer.
It smells like beer. I think aroma-wise, pretty decent.
All right. 2 surviving.
Yep. Okay, when we taste it, the first thing we do is intent. I think for intent,
We made a gluten-free beer.
we made a gluten-free beer.
Okay, bud.
Yeah, I have more to say on that in a moment. It's got an excellent level of carbonation. Like, it's nice and tingly.
Yeah.
Hops level is good.
It tastes...
Not a super big fan of the sorghum.
You know how beer... Sometimes it just comes up as, oh, that's beer. And then sometimes the grain gets pushed forward a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what's going on here with the sorghum, is that I'm getting more grainy notes
Yeah,
than
I'm
just
definitely getting more of the sorghum.
generic yay beer.
Now, don't get me wrong, it's not bad. It tastes like beer. If you're gluten-free and cannot have regular beer, this is going to taste amazing to you.
Yeah, yeah.
I've actually been drinking a lot of Guinness lately, so to me this tastes lighter and different.
Yeah, but it's not offensive.
No, the first sip I was kind of taken back, and now that I'm sipping it a little bit more, it's starting to really taste like a...
And I think...
I want to say like a Pilsner or something like that, but I can't really put a name on it. I'm sorry.
I feel like if you have gluten sensitivities, but you really enjoy beer, this will be a great replacement for you. And I think this would be a great base if you enjoyed flavored beers.
Yeah, you could make a fruited gluten-free beer easily from this.
Or chocolate or peanut butter or chocolate peanut butter.
That's true.
And I think adding those additional flavors are going to minimize the sorghuminess.
Right.
Because it's definitely...
Trying to think of what other roasted grain you could use that wouldn't have gluten in it. I mean, you could add oats. If you can find gluten-free oats, you could use oats in it. There's got to be another grain that has no gluten. But overall, I'm actually quite pleased.
Yeah.
I think this came out pretty good. I know we're not making a big deal and sounding all uber excited, but sorry, it's been a month in the last week.
I feel like it
this is a success.
It checked all the boxes that I was looking for.
Yeah,
so
this is a success. I'm going to put a score on that.
Oh, yeah, you didn't score. Did I score? I didn't score. Why am I not scoring?
Yeah, why are you not scoring?
All right, it's time for math. And when it comes time for math, that means it's time for Brian.
Oh, thanks. You can keep your pen.
Oh, you don't need my pen?
I don't need your pen. Okay. Math is done. Do you have a score?
I do.
Oh, I don't have my glass. There's only a little bit left. Are you ready?
I am ready.
1, 2, 3, 8.6. So overall, this is like a 9, which that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say this is the absolute best beer I've ever had. That's why I'm an 8.6. I'm a little bit lower. I'm probably showing you the scorecards on the screen right now. So let's just go over them really quick. I think we both went 10 for repeatability because
this was really easy.
Yeah. Appearance-wise, I gave it a 5. I think it actually looks really, really nice.
Yeah, I love that reddish tint to it. It's very appealing visually.
On aroma, I went with 4 out of 5 because I do smell a little bit more sorghum-y than really like beer to me. But still, that's an 80% score, you know? Intent, I gave it a 9 because...
We made a gluten-free beer.
We made a gluten-free beer, but I wish it was just marginally better. You know, and that first time making one, first time trying it out, it's good, but I think we could do better. So flavor, here's where we differed slightly too. I went 8.
I gave it a 9 because it's not offending me in the slightest.
Well, an 8 isn't offensive. A 2 is offensive.
That's true. I couldn't knock it down much farther though because I didn't.
The
things that were bothering you weren't really bothering me.
Okay. I also drink more beer than you do though.
Sure.
But I'm not saying, you know, I just did not feel that this was like spot on perfect as flavor goes. Like if somebody handed me this and said, you know, what do you think of this? Without knowing it's a gluten-free beer, to still get an 8 is still kind of impressive. You know, that's really good.
Right.
That's how I was looking at it.
There is something that I'm noticing at the bottom of my glass. There are some floaties.
Oh yeah, that's all the yeast coming through.
I think because
it exploded?
It was so eruptive that it just mixed itself up. So
before we go though, I want to talk about something. We also have this one, which is the one with I added a canister to it. That's the only difference. We set this up last time, but I put a canister on it because I didn't think that those were carbed at all. Only to find out they are. Plane flying overhead. Hold on a second. Go away, plane. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut off the gas. That way I can remove this part. Hopefully. Okay. Now, I just put this in yesterday. All right. So I don't know if it's going to be carbed or not, but let's find out, shall we? She's already backing away. Oh. And of course, I put it on so tight that I can't even get it off.
do it. It gave a little tiny.
Let's find out. Did it carb? There's a game show for you. Did it carbonate?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
In just 24 hours, it totally carbonated.
Fantastic.
This one's good. I don't know why no, it doesn't taste any different. There's just no gunk in it. It carbonated, but it's not really, well, there's bubbles in it. So what I was getting at with that is that's a way to save a bottle, if you will, if you have a way to do that. Or what I was going to do is just take the rest of it and dump it slowly, carefully into one of our mini kegs and carbonate it that way. So you can always save it. And that's kind of an important thing, even if it doesn't carbonate. Now we have a backup plan. Well, with this one, we were on plan C and D already, I'm pretty sure. Just one of those things. Okay, so overall, we set out to make a gluten-free beer. We made a gluten-free beer. It doesn't taste half bad. Would I reach for it first over other beers that I like? No. Would I reach for it over some beers that I really don't like? Yes.
Absolutely.
I would. It is definitely better than some beers that I have purchased in stores.
Right. So if you are gluten intolerant or you know someone who is and you want to make them a special prize, make this beer.
Absolutely. And remember, it's a base for other things too. So you can basically use any of our recipes that use an extract, make this using the in place of the extract, and then add anything else you want to it, and it would work.
Sure.
That's a wonderful thing. But as always, thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.